There's a lot going on this time of year at the Idaho State House. Committee meetings, bill proposals, and key debates that could shape Idaho's future. I'm James Dawson, state government reporter for Boise State Public Radio, and I spend my days from January to April sorting through the action at the legislature so you don't have to. Sign up for my weekly newsletter, Legislative Roundup, and you'll get each week's biggest news and developments from the session delivered straight to your inbox every Monday morning. Sign up for Legislative Roundup at our website, boisestatepublicradio.org.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Samantha Wright, filling in for Jim Agadet. This is Idaho Matters. The golden eagle is in trouble. Since 1979, the numbers of these huge birds of prey have dropped by 50%, and they're disappearing from the shrubby habitat of southwest Idaho. Why are they disappearing? Well, if you want to answer that question, just ask Michael Kokert. He's been studying golden eagles in southwest Idaho for 55 years in places like the Morley Nelson Snake River Birds of Prey National Conservation Area. He's a scientist emeritus with the USGS Forest and Rangeland Ecosystem Science Center, Snake River Field Station, and he'll be talking about golden eagles and his research on March 18th at the invitation of the Golden Eagle Audubon Society in Boise. He's here to give us a preview of the talk and of some of his research. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing rather well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Tell me about golden eagles for someone maybe who hasn't seen them or isn't sure they saw one. What do they look like? I know they can be mistaken for young bald eagles sometimes.
Well, they're a large raptor, and they are dark. The adults are dark colored, and they differ from the adult bald eagle in the fact that they do not have the white head and the white tail. The immature golden eagles have white in the tail and white in the underwings, but they differ from an immature bald in the fact that they're not mottled. They're distinct color patterns under the wing and then at the base of the tail. So, eagles are, like I say, are big. A big female eagle will weigh as much as 13 pounds, and the females are larger than the males. This is the way it is with most of the raptor species. And so, and these golden eagles are primarily rabbit feeders, as we'll get into a little bit later. So that gives you a bit of an overview of the golden eagle.
Yeah.
One thing I want to clarify a bit is that we've experienced the decline in and near the Morley Nelson Snake River Birds of Prey National Conservation Area, but our survey area southwest Idaho also takes in the Owahis, and the eagles occupying the Owyhee area seem to be doing a bit better than the ones down the lower elevations here in the, like I say, in and near the Morley Nelson NCA and up in our upstream comparison area up around Glens Ferry in that area as well. So but one thing that I've noticed in the literature points this out is that eagles throughout the lower 48 in the western areas has declined. So,
well,
did I cover everything?
You did great. Let's talk about why some of them are declining, especially around Morley Nelson. And I want to talk about jackrabbits and the relationship they have with golden eagles, because this is a fascinating kind of life cycle, because the jackrabbits started to disappear, and that's part of the problem. Tell me about this.
Well, one of the things that we found out with our research is that their golden eagles prefer jackrabbits, and if you look at them range wide, they prey primarily on some kind of leopard, which is a rabbit, or some kind of skyurid, which is like the marmots and such, prairie dogs. But in the area here where we studied in southwest Idaho, there is a preference for black-tailed jackrabbits. And we've also shown in our research that the golden eagle reproduction is closely tied to jackrabbit abundance. So basically, we have observed in the last 20, let's say 20 years, 40 years, actually. I'm of the age where all my, decades are running together anymore. But the last 40 years, we have observed a decline in the number of jackrabbits, and that has been precipitated by these massive fires that we had in the 1980s. The black-tailed jackrabbit is pretty much of a sagebrush, or let me put it this way, a shrub habitat species. And you basically burn away the shrubs and you lose the rabbits. So we've observed a significant decline in the black-tailed jackrabbits. Also, the rabbits are suffering from all kinds of problems. I just received word a few years back that rabbit hemorrhagic disease had hit Idaho. So with the loss of the primary prey, we're losing, basically what we're seeing is a decrease in the occupancy of the golden eagles. And we had a Boise State, and my colleague at Boise State, Julie Heath, her graduate student, conducted some occupancy models and found that basically the occupancy was related to the amount of shrubs in the area, which one can relate to the abundance of jackrabbits.
So they lose their shrubby habitat, the rabbits go away, eagles lose their favorite snack, and you found that they can't just switch to something else. Well, they can, but, when they started chowing down on rock pigeons, that's a bad idea.
Well, this is one of the things we published a paper here a few years back that showed that the eagles, the golden eagles that we studied, shifted away from jackrabbits because basically the jackrabbits were way down and were taking waterfowl and rock pigeons. And what we noticed with the pigeons is that they carry a disease, a pathogen that causes the disease trichomoniasis. And this is a protozoan pathogen that invades the upper buccal cavity or of the host, and basically the bird starves to death. But that's what basically happens. And what happens is the young eagles eat these pigeons, and we found with the research that we did that a diet that consists of more than 10% pigeons or birds that are having a diet that consists more than 10% of rock pigeons run a risk of contracting the disease and dying from it, because this trichomoniasis is lethal. It's a bird contracts the disease, and in most cases they die.
We're speaking with Michael Kokert. He's a scientist emeritus with the USGS Forest Service, and he'll be giving a talk on golden eagles and his 55 years of research on the birds on March 18th at the invitation of the Golden Eagle Audubon Society in Boise. Okay, it's not just jackrabbits. We've got, they get hit by cars. Golden eagles get electrocuted, shot, poisoned. They face a lot of problems. What can we do to help them? Part of what the USGS does is study birds and then suggest ways that land managers can help out. What can we do to try and help them out? Are there ways we can assist?
Well, we can directly try to help the birds out, or we can indirectly. Now, the BLM has done a superb job of trying to indirectly help the birds out by their efforts for the last 40 years of trying to restore the shrub habitats back to the areas where it's been lost. The big problem is that we're dealing in some areas in the NCA they're within the 6 to 8 inch precip zone, and that's pretty dry, and it's very difficult to get these seedings to take. And then another problem that happens is that with the increased incidence of fire, you run a risk of that seeding burning and just setting you right back to where you started from. Another way that we can take care of, address these problems, and we have had, research on different methods of mitigation, and we have found that we got possibilities here with disease treatment, because one of the things about this trichomoniasis is that it can be treated with a antiprotozoan drug, and so it is treatable. And so by disease treatment is one way of approaching helping the eagles out. Another thing that we found that is affecting golden eagle nestling survival is nest parasites. And Julie Heath and her team has done a lot of work on the coming up with ways of treating these nests and for these nest parasites. And it's primarily the Mexican chicken bug that is the primary parasite. And what this individual does is that you have a basically stressed out eagle that has a low red blood cell count. They're highly stressed, and so essentially their survival is rather limited.
Wow.
By treating these nests, it gives a possibility. Looks like that this might be a way of approaching. Another way is that we have found that providing shade. We found that the study that we did here a few years back, we found that those nests that were shaded had a higher survival rate, or if you want to look at it in reverse fashion, had an increased mortality in nests that were exposed and based on the number of days of above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So in other words, you have continuous days of above 90, and that will affect the survival. So there's ways of approaching that. And so this is one of the things that we've been working on for, or at least seeing potential for mitigation.
We have barely scratched the surface of what you're going to be talking about at your talk. I want to thank you, Michael Kokert. He's a scientist emeritus with the USGS Forest Service. He'll be talking about his 55 years of research on golden eagles on March 18th at the invitation of the Golden Eagle Audubon Society in Boise. It's open to the public. We'll put a link on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org.
And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.